Hello everyone, Richard here. You're probably thinking, oh look, a hastily recorded webcam introduction to a video, something must have gone horribly wrong. Well, nobody died trying to suck themselves off or anything, though statistically speaking that must have happened somewhere. What in actual fact happened was I forgot to record the video portion of the podcast. Usual excuses, I'm very busy, up against it, blah blah blah. I didn't press go on OBS. So for the first half of this video there's no video, just a still image. But halfway through suddenly we'll spring to life with video. So you can see our faces as we speak. This contains spoilers for Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Star Wars show, episodes 1 and 2, and we hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome back to Val Verde Broadcasting. I'm Richard Jackson. This is Duncan Casey. You probably know us because let's face it, we don't really pull down a new audience. It's our Trenchant Valverdeans that we love who tune in. But if you are new, hello. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time. Go check us out. This week, we're talking about the Star Wars Obi's Wand, the new Disney Plus original starring Ewan McGregor. I'm mispronouncing things for no real purpose. It's a comic device that really has no basis in comedy or any real legs. Basically, they dropped 2 episodes last Friday of the show. It's about Obi-Wan Kenobi 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, 10 years before the events of the original The Star Wars. And we'll get into the plot and stuff. I mean, you probably all know from the trailers, but we checked it out and we'd like to talk about it. Duncan, what is your high-level impression of Star Wars: The Obi Wand?
Obi wants Kenobi.
Obi wants Kenobi.
This was long delayed, wasn't it? It was delayed for a month or two. I don't know why. I was kind of looking forward to it. I mean, I'm not a big Star Wars guy, so basically if it's if it's going to grab my attention, great. I don't care about the lure, but it does seem first of all that this is a kind of, it's weird that we're now doing we're sort of sequelizing the prequels. Anyway, that's just too much to get my head around. But overall, my top down view, if you like, my Google Maps.
Very good. Or
is. It's not high resolution enough to zoom right in, but see your car outside. And I've never done that, honestly. It was. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I thought it was good. I don't think it's not mind blowing. It hasn't sort of excited me particularly, but it's been interesting. It's been good, I think.
Good. Yeah, I'm sort of in the same boat. I mean, I kind of think that, there was a time when I was younger and I was really bothered about Star Wars lore and what happened, and now I'm not. I just think the whole thing's just got too entrenched in other stuff, and people have really serious opinions about Star Wars, whereas this is a situation where I'm just happy to be entertained. And I've enjoyed the live action shows. I think The Mandalorian was the darling of Disney Plus, wasn't it? Everybody watched that. I enjoyed that very much. I was pretty tepid on Boba Fett, and I've enjoyed this. I enjoyed what it's doing and where it's going. I will say that I've not a fan of the prequels, but I've always had a big soft spot for Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. I've always liked that performance. I've always liked his enthusiasm for it. It's been quite nice seeing him doing the press for this and saying, like, yeah, well, when these came out, we thought everybody hated them, so we kind of had to sort of forlornly move on, and then. Now the kids who watch them are really grown up, they're all in their 20s and they love it and they really wanted to come back, and we felt really welcome being returned. And that also applied to Hayden Christensen, who, spoilers, they've slapped it on every bit of promotion ever, is back as Darth Vader. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was my high level kind of non-spoilery thing. I kind of liked it. I find this era of Star Wars in live action, I don't want to get in trouble here because I mean this in a nice way, they feel like really good live action cartoons. Because like when you were watching as a kid Batman the animated series, and it felt like, oh well, this feels somehow separate and elevated from other animated stuff. This feels sort of better.
Yeah.
It's kind of the inverse of that, and I don't mean to dab in faint praise. It's kind of like this is like really expensive and lavish, but it feels sort of like a cartoon in a way that I like. It feels like, and the link to Dave Filoni and animated Star Wars stuff, I think, is perhaps where that comes from.
Yeah, I think it has to sort of segue into that anyway, because if we're doing a sort of serialized show, I think you kind of you need to lean into that, and it's a sci-fi thing. It's got to kind of, it does feel. What's interesting about it is it does feel like it's more in the Mandalorian verse than the prequel verse, if that makes sense. Like it feels very much in the mold of the Mandalorian, and we've kind of we jump around in time a lot with these shows, don't we? Because this is obviously between prequels and original.
Mando's 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's fine. It's not that hard to figure out, I guess. But it's and it's such a sort of, I suppose, it's such a universe that's kind of out of time. I think we've spoken about this before, but like technologically, they kind of have just stayed. It's all very consistent. It seems like they peaked and that was it technologically. So it's kind of that's where it kind of gets a bit where you almost don't need to know where it takes place. But
it's the used future, isn't it? They have the one toe because you see Alderaan, and there's one sort of toe in the prequel kind of world, because when you see Alderaan, it's the halls of power and everything's kind of glass, organic glass spires. But of course on Tatooine, it's always busted up, rusty old broken spaceships and things.
Yeah.
So it has kind of fit in there,
which is good. I think I like all that. What's I suppose are going to be a bit two things. One is obviously I'm not one of these people who gets too caught up, as I say, in the kind of lure of it all. But there is that sense of like, so we're going to build to Obi-Wan and Darth Vader meeting and having a ruck. And that's going to be, and it does seem like, I think I said before we started, they're keeping their powder dry very much like this. The first two episodes don't really do an awful lot. There's their book ended with stuff, which they were all clearly supposed to be released as two episodes, which is a thing they did. They used to do a lot on TV with series, like with, the premiere of a season.
Yeah,
they'd release two episodes at the same time, and they would act like almost like a mini movie, which is kind of what's happened here. That we've got from point A to point B with it, and the sort of revelation that he finds out that Anakin's still alive. But it's like, so that's what we're building to, is we're building to the confrontation, or at least the meeting between the two of them. But then it's implied, isn't it, in episode 4, which is really one, that that it like when I was the master and you were the whatever,
now
the student.
No, I am the master. All that stuff.
Yeah, and also, are they gonna dig up the not dead corpse of James Earl Jones and make him do the voice?
I would assume so, because he's been back for quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he's got to, hasn't he? I mean, by now, if you tried to get someone to approximate that, it would sound so weird. So this has got to be one of the last shots.
There was this long thing of where he didn't do it, because I don't think Star Wars had the prestige and stuff in the public eye for a while, so he didn't do it for ages. So there are loads of people out there who have done it for video games and stuff, but he's been back. He did the Rebels cartoon, and he obviously did Rogue One. So yeah, I mean, I wonder. Well, actually, no. I'm going to take this back to my thoughts on this. I really don't want them to have a fight. What I would quite like is him constantly frustrating Vader, and Vader can't get him. At the very least, he should see him from across. A crowded room. Their eyes meet, and they do a sex with his robot Willie.
Cocktail.
Yeah.
His burned robot Willie.
His bummy burned robot Willie. He shouldn't. I think it should be a case of Vader is very much there. Maybe they communicate for the Force or something, but like they don't have a fight. So I think that kind of undermines when they meet in Star Wars, the first Star Wars. In my view, I think they inevitably are, aren't they? I mean, from what they've said in all of the fucking stuff they've leaked, not leaked, all the stuff they've released, you've got Ewan McGregor going like, oh my god, I never got to meet him when he was Darth Vader, and meeting him for Darth Vader for the first time was terrifying, so I was like a child again. It's like, well, they're going to meet and have a fight then, aren't they?
Right, thanks for that.
Yeah. So, I kind of feel like they will, because that's what people want. And I'm not bothered enough to hold a particularly robust opinion on that anymore, whereas there was a time where perhaps I would have done. So that's going to be cool. I think that's good. I want to see the redemption of Hayden Christensen, because you know what? I just think he's someone who, as a director, didn't quite gel with George Lucas, and that's why we got that kind of performance that everyone rags on. But in actual fact, like Shattered Glass, the movie about the journalist Stephen Glass, he was really great in that, and a few other things where he's good, and it was cool seeing him in the Bacta tank as the insides of Vader. That was quite cool. you know, at the
Presumably,
end.
although his face was all covered up, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's him. It's him.
Yeah.
They like because they showed his eyes, didn't they? And like,
Oh, okay.
you know, it's him because it's been all the hype. Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers is in this, which I did because they kept not showing his face, and I was like, okay, so who's going to be this guy?
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
clearly a stunt cast.
Who's this mysterious interloper? He's one of the nihilists from the Big Lebowski.
yes, exactly. We better
You found the money, Lebowski.
We need some David Thewlis added in. Just get all of the Lebowski returners would be great. So that's, you know, fine. We've got a little girl as baby Leia, which I'm fine with as well. I think that's probably going to annoy lots of people. I feel bad for children who are made to play young versions of characters in Star Wars because of what happened to poor old Jake Lloyd. He's had his fucking life ruined by being in Star Wars. Which, you know, is troublesome and everything. But I liked it, I think, and also, do you know what? I like the characterization of little Leia because she's doubting and she's kind of, you know, she's got that kind of energy and that, so she doesn't trust people easily, and she's kind of got a lot of her own initiative, and she does what people never do in movies, which is kind of go like, how do I know you're not the kidnapper? Like, that seems to never happen when someone comes to like rescue a kid. She's kind of like, well, hold on a minute. And she's got a batteries not included robot as her mate as well. which I you know, I love a batteries not included robot.
It's a nice thing to do because obviously, you know, we never saw Obi-Wan and Leia have a relationship in any of them, right? So that's a nice that's a good thing to explore because, you know, he can't do Luke. That sounded wrong. He can't see Luke. He's sort of got that kind of. It's like that episode of Futurama of Leela's parents, where they're like putting things out and like stopping her from crawling down the stairs and that kind of thing, like from the sewers. Like he's leaving because he leaves that toy, doesn't he? That
Owen doesn't like.
That Owen doesn't like, or something that's in the it's in the first film, isn't it? That toy he's playing with.
Oh, is it in the Star Wars, the first Star Wars? Oh, it is, isn't it? He's standing around playing with it when he's is it when he's bathing 3PO?
Something like that,
yeah. Oh, wow, yeah. No, I didn't. Okay, of course, because you have to see how fucking the tiger gets stripes, don't you? That's
exactly. You know, and it's like but it's a bit of a worn trope where it's like the hero must come back, and he's working he's working in like a meat mine or whatever. Like, really?
Yeah. Working in a meat mine.
Yeah. From which he seems to steal a bit of meat to feed that, and that would not feed that size animal, but whatever. He steals a bit of meat to feed his animal. It's like, steal some for you.
That kept feeling like he was going to get busted.
Yeah, I think he will probably.
Yeah, that's Chekhov stealing a bit of meat, which I guess is sand whale or something. I don't know. But I like that. I like the kind of, you know, the broken down blue collarness of it all. I really like. I like that other Jedi comes to him and he's just like, no, I'm not, sorry, no. You know, what I like is that his tragedy is that he's in service of a higher mission. And he's completely uncompromising about it, and he won't even use the Force. You know, there's a bunch of stuff. Even in stealing meat, he could just be like wizarding it into his jacket and wiping everybody's minds, but he's not. He's just stealing it. Like, and he's buried the lightsabers in the desert because it's basically. Even before this was announced, it was real. Everybody was like, "Well, if they make an Obi-Wan thing, it's going to be Unforgiven."
Yeah,
and it kind of is. It kind of is Unforgiven in the broadest of tropey ways. It's Unforgiven, and I'm fine with that. I'm very fine with that.
Yeah, you know we're going to get Liam Neeson as well, don't you? At some point, as a
definitely, because he was kind of like, and he did come back and play a Force Ghost in Star Wars Rebels.
Right.
So there's form for it. So yeah, totally. Because he was like,
well, it was all over
help me or whatever. I've got donkey meat. Ooh.
Well, it's all over, and it's all over the previously on Star Wars, like, and it was all because it had all that like show you how to commute.
Oh,
you know,
God, yeah.
Shit.
I skipped that. I started watching it, and I was kind of like, and the thing is with those, because it's like, well, this is all clips from the prequels, which is fine, but it's like, I like to see those things done when they're edited very nicely, which it was. But I was on a train. I'm afraid I'm horrified to admit I had to watch it on a train because I was going to work. I since then watched it on a big TV afterwards, just so everybody knows. It was like I literally don't have time to watch a best of the prequels. I know what happened in the prequels because what they give you is going to be important, and then it's like, well, he started calling out for Master at some point. It's like, yeah, we're going to get I'm what's his name? That's me, Qui-Gon Jinn. Don't die, whatever. Midi-chlorians.
Yeah.
Look at my mullet. My space mullet.
I have a particular set of skills.
Particular set of mullets.
They give you them when you get to the afterlife. Yeah, I mean, look, all that's gonna happen. It's fine. It's just, it's one again. It's that sort of, when you're watching one of these sort of in betweeny ones. It's a bit like Rogue One, although I think they managed to make that a very exciting film because they lent more into just the sort of Star Warsiness of it all. But I think with stuff like this, where it just falls between the gaps, it's like, well, we know the beginning and end of this, so it's kind of like we've got to watch him go in an arc that's ultimately going to land him back where we know he is. So that's sort of a bit frustrating, but I do like what they're doing with it so far. Like, I think they're having him rediscover the Force, you know, and through Leia, because that's another interesting thing to point to, is obviously we can't have Leia figure out that she's got, you know, the Force or whatever, because that's I don't know, there's a lot of, you're kind of hamstrung by a bunch of stuff, but I think
you don't have a brother, so kiss whoever you like. You could use tongues and everything. I'm not into it, I'm just saying.
If you want to. Anyone in the universe. No, not him.
Give him a hummer if you like. I'm Bye.
Bye. I saw it scribbled on the wall of my cave.
I mean, okay.
Really... Okay. Anyway.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, what of the... We haven't spoken about the baddies. What's he called? The Jedi...
So he's the Grand Inquisitor. So that's a returning character from the animated shows. And he was voiced by Jason Isaacs before. Oh. And the animated... Yeah, I know. And this is the thing. So I don't want to be mean to Rupert Friend. But Jason Isaacs voicing that character does this really great kind of vaguely Peter Cushing-ish, which is appropriate, sort of Thespy thing with it. You know, like you're kind of rote British bad guy, upper class British bad guy with that Isaacs flavour. You know, and Rupert Friend, they're kind of big boots to fill, and he doesn't look as cool because he's just got a bit of a light bulb for a head. And I don't know. I don't want to be mean to Rupert Friend because he's had to come in and take over.
I think he does a good job with it. I do like it. It's very Hellraiser, isn't it? I mean, yes. They all are. They're all very Hellraiser-y. It's sort of quite, you know.
Yeah. So the Inquisitors have been kicking around the new Disney Star Wars for a little while, so they're established as a thing.
Why are they called Inquisitors? Like.
I'm
curious about this. Tell me more.
We're all like cats, really. Inquisitor. I suppose it's supposed to be like the Spanish Inquisition or something, isn't it? It's that kind of thing. They look cool. I've always liked the look. The one who's got a really hate lady boner for Obi-Wan, she's new, I think. Right. I think the guy, the kind of guy with the kind of face makeup and the hat, I think is returning.
Is that Rick Ian?
I don't know.
Is it Rick Ian?
Who?
Rick Ian.
Oh, I don't know.
He's in the Fast and the Furious. Even though he was in Die Another Day. Another Day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
KKK.
No. It's 4.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's the good one.
Klaus.
Klaus is Ku Klux Klan.
They believe the opposite of the main one.
Right. Yeah. No. It's I think it's him. He does look a bit weird, but whatever. I mean, it's fine.
I think the makeup job on him was a bit weird. But you know, so the thing here is that she stabs the Grand Inquisitor, right? But the main things that he are in are set after this,
right?
So he's not dead. He can't be, because unless it's just kind of like they do a Fat Tony, Fit Tony. Oh, this is my cousin, the Grand Inquisitor.
Le Grand Inquisitor.
Inquisitor. I'm so hungry. So yeah, he was. I just don't want to rag on Rupert Friend. I think it's bad, and he was cool.
I like him a lot. As an actor, I like him.
Yeah, and he was cool in it. It's just adjusting because it's sort of like, well, I had Jason Isaacs before. But
that would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool. They're supposed to be kind of like Jedi that were turned to just basically work as lieutenants in the Empire, just doing dirty work and inquisiting Jedi, sorry. Because they had that, they teased in the trailer that one Jedi had been kind of hung.
Yeah,
but they've murdered him and they've just kind of strung him up.
Yeah,
because maybe kind of lynching him was a bit much for a Star Wars show. You do get
that's one step too far.
Well, this is the thing: is like, what's the arbitrary line here? Because like a lady gets her hand cut off, and that's really evil. It's like as a method of kind of intimidation. It's completely senseless act of violence, which is cool. It makes the whole thing feel a bit like whoa. But then Star Wars itself, the first Star Wars. Obviously, the guy gets his arm cut off in the bar and there's blood, and it was that weird era where if you're Lucas and Spielberg, you could put whatever you want in a film and it's still a PG. So it comes out of that, I suppose.
And she's got this wide on for Obi-Wan because of what?
a wide Obi-Wan.
Because it starts, doesn't it, with the right at the start that there's stuff that's happening sort of during the prequel. Like was she a student?
It's Order 66, yeah.
Right.
It's Order 66 is the very first thing you see, and then the fact she turns up angry is like, well, Chekhov's murdered children, I guess, because I guess she's kind of, I assume her beef is she was one of the children, and you didn't save us, and etc. etc.
Right.
I guess. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm unclear. So yeah, I think all of that's kind of fallen into place quite nicely, and I kind of like the chase. I liked where that put him as a character, and the fact that he had to hide his abilities and kind of.
I just hope they don't do a Smallville and sort of have it like he literally has to run around not being Obi-Wan Kenobi until the very last. Like he never picks up a lightsaber. He never uses the Force, like any of that stuff. It's like, come on, get to it. Don't
prick tease all the time. No tights, no flights, because Superman's bad and stupid. Anyway, here's 10 seasons of a Superman show. I kind of don't think they will, because he had to use the Force to save her, right? That was the thing.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he even took his lightsaber with him.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the kind of roughness of him using a blaster. I like the thing with I really like Commander Angelo. I think he's great. And he does, playing skeezy fake Jedi. He does really well, and he's got his magnets. And what I like about that performance is he does everything just a bit wrong. So, like, the classic Jedi reveal is like, oh, hello, I'm going to say some frustrating but mysterious shit. But he just kind of, like, whaps it off and is like, dying. And he just does it like a cartoon because he's an idiot, which I really liked. But, idiot with a heart of gold because Star Wars. Also,
Well, and there's always those sort of... Machiavellian, what's the word? We always end up in those sort of rough places where there's someone, making a dishonest buck, but like you say, it has a heart of gold, and that's very much a Star Wars trope, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what Han Solo is, isn't it? But Han Solo is less comically kind of dumb. So yeah, I like that.
More dead.
And more dead, yes.
Well, exactly. Not at this point, I suppose. But...
Okay, yeah. This is a funny thing, as you kind of mentioned early on. I know precisely when this takes place, but just because of all the stuff we've had recently, and it's because it's Tatooine and it's so kind of Mandalorian-ish, I keep forgetting that. And it's like, no, by the time the Mandalorian, everybody here is dead. Like, apart from like Leia, but like everybody's dead. So it's not that, but my brain keeps going like, no, all shows are set at that time now.
Yeah, it is a bit confusing because and they reuse it. They seem to. Well, it looks the same, right? Because it's kind of like I know. It has the same sort of look as like the Boba Fett TV show, and it's all deserty and stuff like that, and Mandalorian kind of as well.
I don't know which personnel carried over. Is it Deborah Chow that's directing this? And I think she did some episodes of Mandalorian. Like. I think I've said this kind of thing before. It's almost a waste of time discussing it on a technical level, in that it's made by not because it's unremarkable, because it's so insanely glossy and high end. It's Lucasfilm, it's Disney, it's part of a house style. You'll know what it's going to look like. It's shot in the anamorphic format, for example, as they started doing. I assume. As you said, there's a few kind of quite set-bound moments. I think you said before we came on air. This isn't live. And they've presumably used their fancy Unreal Tech LED screen thing for it. I would have thought. So hey, it looks good and it sounds good and it's made out of Star Wars. I don't know what to tell you. It's that it's almost, as much as I'd like to go into technical details on that, this isn't. I don't really think this is the venue to do it because we know what these are like. We know how that sausage is made, and we've been enjoying the delicious sausage. Apart from the kind of slightly out of date chipolatas of Boba Fett. Which wasn't that bad, but like it didn't tickle my pickle particularly.
No, it sort of meandered a bit, and I think he's a bit sort of past it to be playing that character. That sounds really awful.
I did like seeing him as the broken down clone trooper.
Oh yes, of course.
That was cool because I don't think
some change.
There's some change. Your duck.
Boba Fett.
What? Oh no! Wait, let's take the statement. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think he's done. I can't remember who it is that they've had someone voicing all of the clones for all the animated stuff forever because he didn't really return for that, and I don't think he's played a clone in live action since the Revenge of the Sith, as far as I know. Apart from Boba Fett, obviously, someone in the comments are actually Boba Fett. Yeah, all right. So I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't include Boba Fett, but I don't think he's done much. He did voices and stuff, I think, for some video games, but mostly it's been, I think it's D. Bradley Baker who did that. But anyway, and does it as a kind of makes him sound English and or Australian when really he should sound Kiwi. But anyway, that was nice.
Me, just saying.
Yeah,
they never do.
They never do. I told them not to with all my, all that sway I have at Disney. Yeah. So I do think. Do you know what I was? And this is the litmus test that I've discussed. I talked about it in my Picard reviews and stuff. I was never bored, and I found with like Picard or even with Boba Fett, like there were moments when I was like going like, oh man, can I find that video of that like beagle that's friends with a sloth? Or, do you know what I mean? I was like scrolling involuntarily because you realise you're doing it when your eyes have gone from here to here because I'm bored, and I wasn't. Yeah. With everyone, I'm really keen to see more. I want more. I want to see where this goes because I think it only gets there's a limited shelf life, doesn't it? Really, because you only get one crack at this. I think you're stretching credulity with a second season of this. You have to sort of tell your story.
Yeah. I actually quite like that in a way because they're not going to be writing to crazy, trying to set up another thing or anything like that. And I don't think. I mean, you might eke 2 seasons out of this, but I really hope they don't. I think they should go for a solid one and done.
I think they are.
I like to call my morning movement.
The one Duncan's one and done. I do think it's being advertised as a limited series.
Yeah. I
don't believe there's any attempt to pretend they're going to do it, and they can't. Like, what is it? Like, I'm uninvolved in Star Wars fandom enough, but also happy enough to see these actors return in these roles that I'm happy for the stretch of credulity that they perhaps met in the middle, which I'm not a fan of. But whatever, I don't mind. When there's a second season and it's kind of like, what, do they enter a breakdancing competition? What the fuck? Like, what exactly is going to happen? That
yes.
Someone at Disney's just kind of like, holy shit, we could do a breakdancing one. Oh my god. what will
Mental note, steal his idea. I'm interested. These are people I like. I'm a big fan of, and I think we've talked about this when we've spoken about comic books before, and it was like, in relation to saying things like they should have made them do more Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, or make them work, like and like Grant Morrison and people like that who is very good at taking really stupid dumb characters and giving them crazy backstories and making them work really well. And it's like, actually it is good that they felt like they needed to keep their feet to the fire. It's a shame Kathleen Kennedy came out and basically blamed Solo on Alden Ehrenreich and said like, it's all this recasting nonsense. It's like, no, I don't think it was that.
It might have been you firing those directors. The directors you saw did a thing, and when they came and did the thing, you sacked them. Because poor Alden Ehrenreich. That's the character that you're never supposed to touch. Yeah. And they gave it to him, and he's a good actor. I just think, that movie stunk, but it wasn't his fault. It's just a ridiculous.
I didn't think it stunk, but it just didn't do anything.
It didn't really stink. It didn't stink. It was bland, and it was a bit dumb. Like that Darth Maul reveal into Solo. Like, they gave Ron Howard like a list of people he could use, and it's like, what? So narratively, you're gonna go on the choice of the director like whilst you're making the film, that's going to be the basis for the rest of presumably some background story in your Star Wars shit. It's like, well, he chose, I don't know, the green girl from Jabba's palace, so she's in charge, or whatever. It's just like, what the fuck? And obviously that was just a massive dead end because they wanted to make more of those, and it's like, no.
No, it's a shame. It is a shame, but I think. See, for me, I think when you're doing stuff like that, because she said, it's casting younger versions of characters, it's like, well, obviously they've done it with Leia here, but when they're that much younger, it's quite you can get away with it. I think when it's someone who's supposed to be sort of marginally younger than Harrison Ford was in the first Star Wars, you've either got to, I think you've got to lean into doing a seriously dead-on impression. You've got to lean into that sort of looper, the
prosthetic face and stuff.
The prosthetic face, that kind of stuff. You've got to get real, like with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You've got to kind of really do something that really makes him look. Because in this, it was just kind of like, they kind of gave him a haircut. That was it. Yeah.
So I mean, the whole thing is, like Obi-Wan doesn't, Ewan McGregor doesn't look like Alec Guinness. He never has done. But he convincingly. What I like is that he has said like, oh well, I've always tried as that character aged up. I've always tried to make his performance more like Alec Guinness's because we're getting closer in age to when he was in the movie. We always tried to match that up, and I like that, and I think it does show. I think there's the scene where he first meets Kumail Nanjiani, and he seems to be doing a couple of lines in like an American accent. I think he did a really weird accent just briefly, and I was like, "Are you pretending?" I thought for a moment he was pretending to be someone else for the purpose of the scene. And then he just goes back to his Obi-Wan accent.
I think he did say like, I struggled to get the voice back. Because bearing in mind because
it's not his voice. It's not his own voice. Like he's played Americans a few times. I'm not totally sure how many times he's played English. He must have done quite a lot. I mean, I think when he was doing TV and stuff, he probably would have done. I can't think.
Yeah, I can't remember what he in Brassed Off was he.
Oh, it's from Yorkshire in Brassed Off.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess that counts as English. But yeah, no, he's yeah, I think he's doing a good job, man. And I like Ewan McGregor as a performer anyway. I've always really liked him.
Well,
I've never seen him in anything I thought he was shit in at all.
No, man. And I think the first thing I saw him in was Shallow Grave before Trainspotting come out. And Shallow Grave is such a phenomenal film. It's a fucking incredible movie. Like, I really, really think that. And him and what was it, Kerry Fox and Christopher Eccleston. And that was the first time, and I think he's just great. And like he played in that kind of dreary Harley Quinn film where he played Roman Sarnes, where he played Black Mask. He really fucking goes for it and makes it sort of camp, and I really appreciated that. I was kind of like, yeah, you're fucking going hell for leather on this, like in a film that frankly doesn't deserve you. But that's that. If I think we're probably good to sort of wrap up in a sec.
Yeah.
But if I may theorize for a second. I kind of feel like Star Wars as movies might feel like a bit of a expensive dead end for Disney at the moment. Like, in terms of the movies that are coming out, I'm not sure if any are, and they kind of, they crash themselves into a bit of a low fence, let's say, rather than a wall with those. And now I'm not going to retread old ground, but TV and film is blurring increasingly. This is a fucking a 6-hour movie that's being released on streaming. It's a limited series, that's what it is. The Cassian Andor show that's coming out, the spin-off of Rogue One, that is as well, because that character has to die too, so that's going to have to be a thing. I kind of feel like presumably they want to. And I know Kevin Feige ended up getting involved in Star Wars, I think. I don't know if that's stuck. But I feel like all these things across different eras, I think they're going to be covertly building up to a big Avengers thing. Where, like, you're not going to have Obi-Wan because he's dead. But, maybe characters that are introduced in this show turn up in Mandalorian later. I think there's going to be a big fucking Star Wars team-up thing at some point. And maybe stuff from this will bleed over into theatrical films come out. I don't even know if they've got any theatrical films slated anymore.
No, not to my knowledge, no, because I think that, like, even early doors, Boba Fett was going to be a film, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and I think this was as well, actually. Like, in the distant past, not that anyone's inked any papers or anything, but I think that was the idea. And so they must be presumably. And I wonder, this point in time, in that it helps them to drive subscriptions to Disney Plus, because Disney Plus is blowing up, and people are just like, well, I'll pay fucking £8 to watch Obi-Wan. If it's across 2 months, I'll pay £16 to watch Obi-Wan. And what they are, like gyms, they're banking on you not going back and doing it again, but not cancelling the subscription or whatever.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot on there as well. I mean, of all the platforms, I think it's probably growing in the most sort of interesting way, actually, and they're getting more and more really good.
Because they swallowed up Fox. Yeah. So that means because they're making this new Predator movie, and that'll go to cinemas, and it'll be on Disney Plus, for example. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be any good or whatever, but those are the facts. That's just that. And then the whole Fox back out. So they just put back the Orville. It's going to be on Disney Plus, and people like the Orville very much. I haven't watched it. The Simpsons is there. All these things. So.
And you got to feel like as well, like what's happening is I think a lot of these services are now, especially the newer ones, are kind of calcifying. Like I think especially Disney Plus, it's like you're not going to be worried about losing The Simpsons anytime soon, or you know what I mean. It's not like Netflix. We go, I've got to watch all through this because you never know, it could be gone the next day. It's all licensing wise. It's all that they're not going to get licensed anywhere else. Same thing I think with Prime. It's going that because all the Bonds are on there now, and it's like I don't think they're going anywhere because Amazon bought MGM, so.
Netflix is like that shopping centre on the rough side of town where all the shops keep closing. You know what I mean? It's just like, we've put a ping pong tables in that one. It used to be a Mothercare. Okay.
Rent a desk. No, you're all right, mate.
No, you're all right.
Why not rent a desk in the centre of town?
In an empty Ryman.
Might be some free stationery knocking around. You never know.
It's only £25 a day to park in the centre of town. Well,
I'll get the bus.
Yeah, just going to eat Burger King, get a slushie from the cinema, and then go back to my rent a desk. Anyway, that's Netflix. The stretching of a metaphor. Okay, so I think that's good. We're going to come back and do this week by week, right? Is that the idea? Is that their big idea?
Yes.
Cool. All right. Cool. Well, there you go then.
I'm away next week, so fuck off.
Well, we'll figure it out. It's fine. It's fine. We'll figure something. We'll get there.
Yeah.
All right, so we're signing off. You can find us on Spotify. You might have even heard this on Spotify, actually. We are Val Verde Broadcasting. You can find us on YouTube. We are Val Verde Broadcasting. You can find us on the Twitter. We are Val Verde Broadcasting. You can find us on Facebook. We are Val Verde Broadcasting. You can find us on not Instagram because we haven't done that. We're not on TikTok. We're not on whatever the next one is. Scanch. That'll be the next big one. Scanch. Yeah. It's only pictures of elbows and cats. I don't know how social media works. If I knew, I'd make Scanch and be rich. Instead, I just sit here forlornly eating pizza and engaging in the sin of owner. But anyway.
Ironically, still being rich.
But what's being rich? That's it, I think. We're going. Hope you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe. Dislike and unsubscribe. We're not your dad. Goodbye.
Bye.